All right, so I'm on Twitter, right? Because you know I'm on Twitter. It's Real Tim Black if you want to follow, guys. Someone DMs me and they says, Tim, this thing's going on. And it's pissing me off and no one will talk about it. You haven't even talked about it. And I'm like, okay, here we go. What haven't I talked about? You know, sometimes I just forget, or sometimes I'm just bombarded, or sometimes it's just one guy. But this person had a point. There was something that was missed. And I didn't actually miss it. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't focused on it. You know what I mean? So anyway, here goes the issue. Someone who used to watch TYT and apparently follows TYT on the Twitter, they saw this tweet from Cenk and it says, you guys have to stop saying that. Okay, let me start with the comment that Cenk's responding to. Someone named Anthony B. wrote this. So will you call Elizabeth Warren's promise to take corporate PAC money in the general election, should she be the nominee, inherently corrupting? Inherently corrupting. And Cenk's response to that was, you guys have to stop saying that. It isn't true. Go back and watch the interview I did with her at tyt.com. At Elizabeth Warren. Never said she would take corporate PAC money in the general. She said she would do calls and fundraisers again, but that's only from individuals. All right. So the person who sent me this DM, who sent me this Cenk tweet, said, Tim, Cenk's wrong. Either he doesn't know what's going on, or maybe Cenk is trying to mislead people. I don't know, but Cenk is totally wrong about this. And Tim, I have the receipts to prove it, brother, but no one will talk about it. I said, well, look, here's what we're going to need. We're going to need proof that Elizabeth Warren said she would take PAC money. He said that Anna Kasparian also knows. So we need two things. We need proof that Elizabeth said it and proof that Anna Kasparian knows. Also proof that Cenk Uygur, during the interview with Cenk, that Elizabeth Warren did tell him that. And if we had those three pieces of proof, well, we got him dead to rights.
I want
to not quite your standard sales pitch.
Yeah, no, that's not a normal political pitch. But I wanted to ask you, you mentioned earlier that you don't believe in unilateral disarmament. So does this only apply in the primaries, or will you carry this over to the general election or any other election you'll have going forward?
So this is for primaries. Look, I do not believe in unilateral disarmament. We need to win. We need to win in 2020. And when we hit 2020 and we're in a race against Donald Trump, when we're in a race for control of the Senate and control of the House and in control of the state houses and the governor's mansions, in all of those, the Republicans are going to be bringing a lot of money, a lot of power, a lot of dark money, a lot of super PACs, all to the fight. We play by the same rules. And in that one, I say we got to be all in, because we have to beat the Republicans. But
I'm not so sure it gets any more cut and dry. Cenk, she literally said to you that come the general election, all the rules are off the table. She literally said the Republicans are going to take dark money. The Republicans are going to take super PAC money. We need to be all in. The primaries is one thing. The general is another. Cenk, looking at your tweet, tweet, Cenk. Well, why am I talking like I'm talking directly to Cenk? I'm not talking to Cenk. I'm talking to my people. People, Cenk, what is Cenk talking about? It's obvious. Elizabeth Warren said that she's going to take dark money. She said the Republicans are doing it, so why shouldn't we? We want to beat the Republicans, so we got to do exactly what they're doing. Because, hey, we wouldn't be able to raise money from people. We need to go the corporate route. We need to go the billionaire route. We need to tap some millionaires. That's what we need to do. I'm only going to have ethics when it comes to the primary, but once we get to the general, all bets are off. I'm all in. I got a plan for that. I'm going to be sold and bought. And that's actually what she's saying, Cenk. She's saying she's going to sell her soul. She's saying she's going to compromise her ethics. She is saying she's going to be bought. She's going to allow people to influence her with money, because that's what money does. It influences people. If I walked up to you right now, you didn't have any money, and I offered you $100, I would be able to influence you to do whatever I want you to do for the $100. Now, you might not do it because it may be something strange for a little bit of change. But if I ask you to do something simple like make a phone call or, I don't know, go over and tell that lady I said hello, you'd probably do it. You know, if you didn't know where your next meal was coming from, you'd probably be a little susceptible to somebody saying, here goes $1,000. Money is how we trade services. That's what money's for. It's a form of exchange. That's the whole purpose of money. Folks, listen, folks, Wolfpack, everybody watching, Cenk was a former Republican. He ought to know how money works. I'm sure he does. Elizabeth Warren was a former Republican. I'm sure she knows that money is a form of exchange for services and goods. So why are people giving you money if they don't expect something? People give to my show, they expect something. They expect a show. They don't expect me to come up here and start supporting Trump because that's not the rules of the agreement. We have an unwritten agreement. I am a progressively minded individual that speaks truth to power. That doesn't mean I will always be directly opposed to everything Trump does, because that's not the rule. The rule is I'll be speaking truth to power and keeping it real. That's the rule.
We play by the same rules. And in that one, I say we got to be all in because we have to beat the Republicans.
I just don't believe, honestly, guys, I just don't believe that there's any other way to interpret what she said. So we already know that Elizabeth Warren likes to play like, I don't know what you mean. Standing Rock, I don't know. I don't know how you came to these conclusions. Well, you didn't go to Standing Rock. Miss Native American, you didn't talk about it till it was over. It was in the news for a year. We've been covering it for a year. Where were you? Tulsi Gabbard went. So that's off track, but back to the point. The point is, I know that Elizabeth Warren has a tendency to be a little squirmy, but right there, she was pretty honest. I mean, I disagree with her 100%, but she's honest about what her intentions are. You can't act like you're fooled and don't act like you weren't the one interviewing her. Okay? So it is what it is. So just going back to Cenk's tweet.
That's
right. But I want to
not quite your standard sales pitch.
Back to his tweet where he said, you guys have to stop saying that. It isn't true. Go back and watch the interview I did with her. Warren never said she would take corporate PAC money in the general. She said she would do calls and fundraisers again, but that's only from individuals. I didn't hear her say, she said all in. Dude, what's all in mean? I thought she said there were no rules and they're going to do what the Republicans do.
Look, I do not believe in unilateral disarmament. We need to win. We need to win in 2020. And when we hit 2020, and we're in a race against Donald Trump, when we're in a race for control of the Senate and control of the House and in control of the state houses and the governor's mansions, in all of those, the Republicans are going to be bringing a lot of money, a lot of power, a lot of dark money, a lot of super PACs, all to the fight. We play by the same rules. And in that one, I say we got to be all in.
That's how I interpret it. I can't imagine you interpreting it any other way, but maybe you do. Okay. Now, I've proven my side of things, where I come from, my vantage point. Now, I'm not the only person who feels that Warren's statement in that video, in that interview with Cenk Uygur, says that she's going to take dark money. Yeah, in fact, there are other people, someone who I've disagreed with before on an issue or two, who, so I have no reason to champion for them, or I'm not champion for them. It's just we happen to agree on something. It's Anna Kasparian that came up to the same conclusion that I did about that conversation, her perception of the conversation between Cenk Uygur and Elizabeth Warren. She formed the same opinion I did.
The Young Turks, including myself and Cenk, did interview Elizabeth Warren earlier this year. And during that interview, she admitted that in the general election, should she win the Democratic nomination, she does not plan to unilaterally disarm when it comes to campaign funding. That's a fancy way of saying that she will take money from big donors. Now, people have rightfully called her out on that as a problem, especially in this age of progressive Democratic politics. And I agree with them. I do think that it is a problem that she is willing to take that money if she wins the Democratic nomination. Look, I think that there are a lot of great things when it comes to Elizabeth Warren's proposals, what she wants to do should she get elected as president. If you look at her track record, she has been incredibly strong when it comes to holding Wall Street and bankers accountable. And that is what appeals to me about her the most. Even when she was taking money from big donors, she was still principled in holding Wall Street accountable. And I do believe that she will always do that. However, I also believe that corporate money and money from big donors negatively influences candidates regardless of how good their intentions are. So for instance, while Elizabeth Warren has been incredibly strong when it comes to some domestic policy, especially pertaining to Wall Street, her foreign policy has not been great. She has been a fierce defender of the right-wing government of Israel, something that does bother me. She has voted in favor of increasing the military budget over and over again. I do see her foreign policy as a weakness. And I don't think that taking money from big donors is gonna play well when it comes to these weaknesses. But that's not to say that I think she's a bad candidate. And I really don't wanna stand here and tear Democratic candidates apart, especially progressive Democratic candidates, when we're dealing with a monster like Donald Trump.
And maybe Elizabeth Warren won't take PAC money, but she will take money from big donors. Isn't that bad, though? And Anna Kasparian thinks it's bad. Maybe Cenk doesn't think it's bad. I think it's horrible. Look, when I started becoming a progressive individual, right? When I started being aware of how I wanted to fall in the spectrum, because we voted and we've done things politically, but once I decided, you know what, I have an ideology and I have a belief system, and this is what best suits it. It doesn't suit it 100%. But this is where I'm most closely aligned. I realized that I was more progressive. I was progressive leaning. That's just who I am. That's how I see the world. And in part of doing that, when I decided to be an activist in that way, meaning I'd help certain candidates run, I would focus on certain political issues, I decided that part of being progressive would be not to take big donor money. And what's the reason behind that? It's not because I dislike money. It's not because I think Democrats shouldn't have money, or Republicans shouldn't have money, or independents shouldn't have money, or Green Party shouldn't make money, or that money. Like, I understand money is useful. The problem is it's hoarded at the top. That's the problem. It's hoarded and is used like a sledgehammer to continually decimate the lower classes in this country. That's the problem with money. But money's not inherently horrible or evil, in my opinion. It's how you use it. If I got $1 million and I feed 100,000 people every day for 6 months or whatever I do, that's a good use of money. And that money was used well, right? But if I get $1 million and I go screw it off and go buy 4 bouncing cars and I don't know how much gold chains. I can't even imagine that type of lifestyle. But you know what I'm saying? I just blow it at Vegas and having a good time hanging out and just whatever, then that's a bad use of money. The point is this. Why do we have a problem with our candidates taking big money? Because we understand the corrosive nature of fundraising. We understand the corrosive nature and influence that money has on our politics. That's why we want our candidates to avoid taking big donor money, super PAC money. I don't care what Republicans do. I care about what the people I support do. I don't care what other parties do. I don't even care what other candidates do. Those are not the candidates I'm going to support. Elizabeth Warren wants to take dark money. She feels she can't compete without it. She's probably right. Because will she be able to actually excite people? Will she really be able to foster a campaign going up against Donald Trump by motivating people and inspiring people and bringing out new voters? Maybe she won't be able to. I don't know. Sounds self-defeating to me. I think we've seen that it can be done. Bernie just showed us how to do it. True, Bernie did not make it to the general, and we know why. The old full-grown person put on a scale attempt, the DNC. They knew who they wanted. the 16 smear articles in 24 hours, compliments of the Washington Post, and on and on and on and on. A tenth of the media coverage of a Hillary Clinton. So look, I'm not here like, look, guys, hey, it is what it is. Elizabeth Warren wants to take big donor money, or if it's dark money. Bad money is bad money. We want our candidates beholden to only one group of people. Us. That's what we want. And we want it in the spirit of trust. And we will fund you because we see you as a leader that we want to put in power. That's the way it should be. It should be a grassroots effort to get a candidate up. People lift you up. We choose you, we lift you up. And you should be able to rely and trust on that and not have to go and get big money donors. And Cenk, you're wrong. You're wrong. She's and look, if you want to support, look, here's another thing I wanted to add. If it came down to Trump or Elizabeth Warren for some strange reason, then you'd have a decision to make. But right now, you have an option of a candidate who won't take dark money. A candidate who won't go do the big fundraisers, the big donors. We have somebody who's pledged not to do that. Why would you consider being, if you're a progressive person and you are focused on politics, you know what's going on, you're not like some Americans, detached, busy. You work in the field of politics and media. You know this stuff. Why would you consider supporting a candidate that won't live up to that expectation? And you know, it just doesn't make sense to me.